Hey guys, it's Julia and welcome to my April book recap. So today I'm going to be going over the books that I read during April. For this year, one of my resolutions was to try and read more, and I'm only really getting around to it this month. Something that helped me a lot was definitely just becoming obsessed with book talk and booktube. A bee just attacked my water bottle. I apologize in advance for all of the nature noises. I'm actually filming this in my backyard because I have roommates and I don't want them to hear me downstairs talking about my books to myself like a psychopath. Anyways, book talk and booktube has really inspired me to start reading more books and really caring about reading. So I'm just gonna go over with you the books that I read this month and how I felt about them, how many stars I would rate them. I'm an avid Goodreads user now as well, so that's fun. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of give you guys a haul of everything that I read this month, and also the book that I'm going to begin reading now as my first book of May. So the first book that I read this month was an autobiography by the one, the only Pamela Des Barres, the queen herself, the dream queen herself. She ate this up. This book is called I'm with the Band, Confessions of a Groupie. If you don't know who Pamela Des Barres is, do a Google search. She slays. So basically, if you know the song Penny Lane by the Beatles, it's rumored to be about her. A lot of rock and older music from 60s, 70s vibes are about Pamela Des Barres. She is probably one of the most famous groupies of that time, and I personally love the drama. I find that lifestyle, the rock and roll lifestyle, very interesting. I just was really excited to read this book. It's been on my list for a while and I finally picked it up and I am so happy about it. This book is written by her. Actually, she is now teaching creative writing classes to young women. It's amazing. She's just a super cool and talented person with an amazing fashion sense. This cover is insane. She is eating up. It's giving editorial, it's giving fairy, it's giving everything that we want it to be giving. So the book is basically just her talking about her time in her early mid-teens, kind of getting into the rock and roll scene, and also just giving accounts of basically everyone that she's slept with, encountered, hung out with, dated, lived with. She really just brings all the drama, and I love the way that this book is written, very eclectic. I feel like I can feel her personality come out through the words on the page. She goes in between a lot of old diary entries from during the actual time that she would write, and you can just really feel the teenage excitement and everything that she's doing, and I found it really cool and really interesting. However, because it goes back and forth between a lot of old writing that she had done during the time, as well as kind of her narrating what happens, it makes it a little bit hard to completely grasp. I kind of always knew what was going on, but more so was kind of oh, this is what's going on now. It would switch up quite a bit. I do love the fact, I don't know if all copies of this book have this. In this particular copy, there's a lot of pictures and, journal entries, like I said, poems, just pictures from the time. And a lot of the time, the pictures felt weirdly placed. She would talk about a bunch of things, and then there'd be pictures of people with her or her with other people that just did not feel like they fit in with where the story was at. Sometimes they felt late, the pictures. Sometimes they felt premature. It feels more like something to kind of just cut up the writing, which I did like, but at the same time, I felt like it could have been placed a lot better for the story. So this book for me gets a 4-star rating. I totally enjoyed this book. I think she's such a cool, classic rock and roll icon, especially for young women embracing their sexuality and embracing what they want to do. It's not that it's incoherent or anything like that. It's more that you can really feel the teenage girlness almost. I don't really have any better words to explain it, but I did love, love, love this book. So that was the first read of the month. It took me a couple of days to read this book, but I really enjoyed it. It is a quick read. It's about 300 pages. But yeah, let's get on to the next one. I'm losing daylight quick, so I'm gonna try and go a little bit faster. The next book that I read this month was The Family Across the Street by Nicole Trope. I did not feel so excited to read this book. I kind of had it laying around and have for a while, and I do love a crime fiction thriller. However, for some reason, this book, I hadn't heard anything about it and I wasn't that excited. Boy, was I wrong. I loved this book. And the cool thing about this book is each chapter is written from a different person's perspective. It goes back and forth between, I think, 3 or 4 perspectives. And the twist at the end, you will never see coming. Seriously, I was not ready. I was not mentally prepared. I've been thinking about this book since I read it because it was so good. And it was a quick read. It was easy for me to read. I read it in a day. And I was so excited to go back to my mom, who actually gifted this book to me, and say, I can't believe I waited so long to read that book. It was amazing. Do you remember what happens? Because my mom is actually a very avid fiction, crime, fiction, scary horror. She just reads a lot, and her Kindle is always charged 100%. She's ready to go. New book every day type of gal. So I was really excited to go back and talk to her about this book. I gave it 5 stars, which I was not expecting. I really like the way that it's written. It's written chapter to chapter in different points of view, but it's not confusing. And another thing that I loved about it is that the heading under the chapter number would always tell you whose perspective you were switching to, so that you can kind of be prepared to go back into that person's point of view. So I loved this book, 5 stars. I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, so the next book that I read, it is Don't Go There, The Mystery of the Dyatlov Pass by Svetlana Os. This book was very interesting. The subject matter of it was very interesting. It's about the Dyatlov Pass incident of 1959, which was basically when 9 college students took a trip through the Urals mountains in Russia. So this was in 1959, and there's a lot of theories about what actually happened to them, because they all ended up actually passing away on their journey. And the scene that was found there was very confusing to all of the people investigating and everyone else in the world. So I wanted to kind of read this book and see what she thought. I found the subject matter very interesting, but I found the beginning of the book up until I think the last chapter, honestly, where she says what she thinks happened, was just kind of a big case file. It felt like she was just going through evidence, which is honestly what I expected this book to be, but I enjoyed it a lot less than I thought I was going to. Haven't thought about it much since, and I honestly feel as though it would be more worth it to watch a 20-minute YouTube video about the Dyatlov Pass incident if you're interested than to read this book, just because I found the writing very, I don't know, maybe I just don't like nonfiction that much, like for reading wise. I love like true crime YouTube and stuff like that, but this specifically was a little bit of a hard read for me. To be honest, it felt like very much, like I said, like a case file, a scientific report, and you're just kind of getting this, instead of getting the story of it, you're getting the report of it. And then you're getting theories and which theory she believes to be the most plausible in the Dyatlov Pass situation, or the Dyatlov Pass incident, sorry. So it was an interesting read. Glad that I read it. I did only give it, I think, 2.5 stars on Goodreads. So yeah, on to the next book. I don't think I would recommend this to most people. If you like nonfiction books on unexplained events, this is up your alley. Unfortunately, it is not up mine. I like my fiction crime because I love an over-dramatized plotline and an over-dramatized story, and even though this is a really sad and unexplained event, it just wasn't my cup of tea. So, on to the next book. So my next book is Gone Too Far by Natalie D. Richards, and I enjoyed this book way more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. I think this author might be one that I'm going to have to revisit. This is a YA kind of like thriller, suspense, crime book. There is a lot of triggering themes in this book, but it is super duper interesting. It follows Piper Woods, the school yearbook photographer who hates the popular kids. She has her own small clique group of friends in the yearbook club that she loves, but she hates the popular kids. After one of her classmates passes away, she truly blames the popular kids in her grade for the way that they treated her, and so she kind of decides that they need some revenge. What she didn't expect was that that revenge was already coming, and that she was going to be a big part of it, but someone else was as well. So this book is crazy. The twist at the end I felt was a little bit predictable. I knew it was going to be somebody that we thought it wasn't going to be, because she starts getting texts from a mysterious vigilante. This book, high school drama, romance plotline in it, very suspenseful, definitely kind of a thriller, and I did find it addictive and unpredictable, just like Natasha Preston found it, and I really enjoyed reading it. It was definitely a sad book with some heavy themes, but definitely so much suspense. And I remember that the ending was actually really nice and satisfying. So I definitely enjoyed this book, and I'm glad that I read it. And I'm pretty sure I gave this 4 stars. So another 4-star for April. They just can't stop chirping. Shut the fuck up. So the next book that I read for this month was The House in the Pines by Anna Reyes. This book, I was skeptical when I first picked it up because I actually looked at the reviews first, and I saw a lot of bad reviews and a lot of mixed reviews, especially because this is a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. I did not get the book for that reason. This was another book gifted to me. After seeing lots of negative reviews about it, I was very skeptical. However, once I actually picked it up and read it, I was totally surprised. I definitely enjoyed reading this book. It follows our main character, Maya, and there is a lot of flashback in this book. Maya's best friend passed away suddenly, just dropped dead to the floor, unexplained, when they were in high school. And the only other person there was her ex-boyfriend, Frank, who she thinks is somehow responsible, especially after she sees a video of him online with another woman, and the same thing happens to that woman. So you kind of go back and forth between flashback of when she knew Frank and flashback of now, when she's kind of spiraling to try and figure out what actually happened and if he actually is killing them. She actually was sent to psychiatrists when she was younger and prescribed Klonopin for this exact reason. She stopped being able to sleep because at the time that her best friend was murdered, she also suspected Frank, but no one believed her and they all thought that she was crazy. They gave her Klonopin for sleep, and during the present timeline of this book, she is actually withdrawing from that Klonopin subscription and kind of a Klonopin reliance, honestly. So it makes her for a very unreliable narrator. However, that kind of adds a lot to the book. You're questioning her opinions and her thoughts on the whole situation the entire book. And then when you get to the end, there is kind of a twist. The ending is just something that you would not expect, not necessarily a twist, just something that you would not have predicted happening. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed reading it, and I was really glad that I enjoyed reading it. It took me a couple chapters to really get into it, but once I did, I was thinking about the characters all day and really thinking about how that could have happened. So the situation's very interesting. I love the writing in it. Anna Reyes seems to be a great author, and Reese Witherspoon agrees with me on that. So I really enjoyed this book. It's not everyone's cup of tea, very obvious by its reviews, but I gave it 3.5 stars. So if you like a kind of like psychological thriller, I think you'd like this book. The next book that I read for April was kind of a showstopper. A lot of people have been talking about it. Everyone has different opinions. Some people love it, some people hate it. Some people love the writing, some people hate the writing. I personally really enjoyed this book. I don't know whether to call it an autobiography or biography because I know she definitely had probably somewhat of a writing team with her on this one, but it is The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. We've seen a lot of nice covers. This is by far my favorite cover so far of the books that we've seen. My next cover is really beautiful as well. This is such a pretty cover. I got, of course, sorry, I think my roommates are home. This cover is beautiful. As you can see, I got a hardcover. I just saw it at Barnes & Noble's and I felt like I had to. It's beautiful, the light pink accents of it all, and then when you open it up, there's this gorge picture of her, and this is also light pink. And what really got me was halfway through reading it, I took the cover off. Look at how cute this is without the sleeve. It is gorgeous. It's kind of like this chromy pink. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. I love Brittany. She's got an eye for style. I loved this book. This was absolutely, without a doubt, a 4-star read for me. I actually think I gave it 4.5 stars. First of all, it's a very sad story. If you don't know what happened to Brittany, read this book, Google it. It's really sad. It's sad to know that she didn't have control for so long, but this book doesn't start there. It actually starts in her childhood. It gives a lot of backstory on how she got into the industry, as well as how she ended up in her conservatorship. I don't know how to say that word, y'all. It's on the screen right now. This book, however, is a story of triumph and shows the real strength in womanhood and holding out for better times. Britney Spears is a legend. She is an icon. I love the way the book was written. A lot of people say the book was written like a teenage girl's diary, but in reality, when you lose so many years of your life being cooped up and told by other people what to do with your money, what to eat, what to wear, what to do with your time, you really do have to be reborn into a new person. So I just think that the way it was written is very fitting. I found it really easy to read. I think I read it in a day and a half, and I just thought it was a beautiful story. It definitely had me in tears at points. You really feel for her and feel for the situation that she unfortunately got put in, that she 100% didn't deserve. She's just a really talented artist, and she's a really, really fucking cool person, and I'm so glad that she's free and that she's able to do whatever her heart desires and live the adult, happy family life that she's always wanted. So yeah, y'all, Britney is freed, and this is 4.5 stars. So the final book I read this month is a classic. I'm sure almost all of you watching this have read this book. I just have never gotten around to it. The Great Gatsby. So I haven't seen the movie. I honestly didn't know anything about the plot except that Gatsby is rich. I saw this book at a Barnes & Noble's, and it is just gorgeous. This cover cost me 20 bucks and the book is this big. So I just love one of these. I love a ribbon, and I love a gold page. Who doesn't love a gold page? Also heard a lot about Taylor Swift loving this book, which also just fully inspired me to make that $20 purchase the other day. I read this in about 2 or 3 days, maybe like 2.5 days. I took a lot of breaks. Obviously, I wasn't reading straight. It's an 150-page book. At least this copy is, because the words are minuscule. I loved this book. I didn't love it as much as everybody else on this planet does. The writing itself is so descriptive and subtle. It's beautiful to read, it's gorgeous, but retaining the information that I'm reading while there's a bunch of subtlety and description to it kind of made me nervous that I wasn't getting the whole story while I was reading it. So much so that I actually watched a Spark Notes YouTube video to make sure I got all of the information that I was supposed to get out of this book. And I did. So I don't know what I was so worried about. The language, the writing, it's gorgeous. The metaphor, gorgeous. This edition, copy, whatever you like to call it, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. But it's not a 5-star for me. The story is great. I'm going to watch the movie in the upcoming days, and we'll see how I feel about that. The story's amazing. The writing is amazing. It's just hard to digest, and it took me a lot longer than it would to read an 150-page book. I'm the type of girl who can read 150 pages in a day. This took me a minute, and it made me feel a little dumb, honestly, which may be a me problem, but hopefully we'll see me get smarter throughout this reading journey, and hopefully you'll see me back next month with more videos, maybe more classic books in my repertoire. It wasn't jaw-droppingly amazing, and maybe that's because this book has been so overhyped to me. I love the vibe, I love the time period that it's set in, I love the glitz, the glam, the heartache that you feel for the characters, the disgust you feel with some of the characters is so real as well. Great book. Not 5-star great, and I know it sounds so stupid to rate The Great Gatsby under Woman and Me, but I gave it 3.75 stars. I just want you all to know that I've been filming this for so long that my hair completely dried throughout this video. Like, it was sopping wet when I started filming, and now it is completely dry. I thought as a fun end segment, it would be cool to tell you guys about the book that I'm starting off May with. So my first book of May is going to be The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I don't know if I'm saying either of those names right, but I've heard so much about this book, and I've had so many weird instances in my life with this book. It started when, obviously, I had been recommended it by a few people, or I've heard about it through the TikTok book talk grapevine. And my manager recommended it to me, and she said it was one of the most interesting, crazy, twist, suspenseful books she's ever read. So I'm very excited to read this one. I will let you know at the end of the month what I think and what else I've read since. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for listening to my book picks for April.